Charles incensed Prince Philip and repeatedly frustrated Buckingham Palace and Westminster alike with his prince-for-sale approach to friendship and finances, it has been revealed in a shock new royal book. Prince Charles would regularly meet and befriend those willing to pay enough money, it was claimed in the expose, regardless of their often controversial backgrounds. The Queen and Prince Philip were so embarrassed by his son's behavior they even tried to intervene. But Prince Charles would ignore warnings from royal aides and his family alike as he jetted across the globe on the paycheck of the world's richest people. While enjoying himself, the Queen's eldest son would also raise millions for charity, often employing somewhat bizarre tactics to achieve his fundraising goals. The startling claims of the prince's lucrative relationship, which left royal family members angry and Whitehall officials embarrassed, were made in royal author Tom Bower's new expose. He wrote in Rebel Prince, "The power, passion, and defiance of Prince Charles. Gaining access to Prince Charles never seemed to be a problem for the super-rich, even those who sailed close to the wind. For those willing to pay enough money, it could be managed." Prince Charles, often accompanied by the Duchess of Cornwall, were more than happy to wine and dine prospective donors, who were subtly called new friends in his inner circle. His personal valet Michael Fawcett, Mr. Bower claimed, was often the go-between for Prince Charles and his new friends, including controversial Turkish billionaire Sam Uzun. Uzun would eventually be sentenced to jail for fraud-related offenses, but not before becoming increasingly close to Prince Charles and Camilla. Mr. Bower wrote, "Prince Charles, of course, could not be seen to be openly selling access to himself. But Fawcett had no such qualms. So, on his master's behalf, he told Uzun that his wife Laura could sit next to the prince at a dinner." In June 2000, to celebrate the setting up of the Prince's Foundation, the charity set up by the prince to help promote architecture, urban design and design. There was just one condition: Uzun would donate £200,000. And that was it. Uzun was in. He and his wife would be repeatedly invited back to royal events, all the while donating huge sums to Charles and his charities, according to the book. This happened again and again, and officials in Buckingham Palace and Westminster began to worry. One palace official said, "Charles cannot see beyond the horizon. He's working hard, but clearly cannot understand the conflict with propriety." And Prince Andrew was concerned his brother was promoting himself in the name of duty, while spending huge sums of money on himself, Mr. Bower said. Mr. Bower said once the phrase rent-a-royal began to circulate, the Queen and Whitehall attempted to intervene, to no avail. He said, Buckingham Palace became increasingly alarmed. In the Queen's opinion, Charles ignored the boundary between his charities and his constitutional position. Prince Philip was even more incensed. He charged his son with damaging the public's trust by allowing the rich to buy access to him. Mr. Bower said, anxious to put a stop to this, the Queen's private secretary suggested that Charles bring in new guidelines for dealing with the donors. His advice was ignored. The situation escalated as Prince Charles ignored criticisms and began to go rogue. In 2011 he agreed to meet Barack Obama but was instructed to fly in a passenger airline rather than a private jet. He balked and ordered one of his U.S. charities to charter a private plane for him anyway. And, despite warnings from aides, he agreed to buy Dumfries House in Ayrshire for £43 million. The only problem was the prince's annual income by 2007 had dropped to £15.1 million. Mr. Bower claimed the answer was to create yet another charity, which immediately took out a staggeringly large loan of £40 million. All the while, Prince Charles was bringing in millions for charity, often using unusual tactics to secure donations. Mr. Bower relayed one example of the prince's forceful nature in which a number of wealthy guests were invited to fill in a pledge card after a meal. He wrote, many wrote down £5,000. Then a frisson would go round the room when people noticed that the prince was ostentatiously examining each card. Suddenly, pens were retrieved and £5,000 became £50,000.